Our hot book of the week has no Spider-Man in costume, but Mary Jane takes the spotlight in a rare all-female creative team from 1985 that's heating up again.
In this week's 25-year rule, the Authority number 13, Millar and Quitely arrive, shaking up the team with edgy politics, gritty art, and the kind of storytelling that pushed DC to the limit.
And from Frank Millar's first Sin City story in Dark Horse Presents to the debut of Nightshade, we've got 2 sleeper keys that are still affordable today. We'll tell you all about them, plus a lot more on a new episode of Bronze and Modern Gods. Richard, are you in a good mood despite spending tens of thousands of dollars this week?
I am. For those who don't know, my son went back to OU. We took him back this past weekend, and I'm excited for him. It's a great opportunity. I hope he loves it. It just ain't cheap.
No, it's not cheap, but you're doing the right thing. And, maybe you can sell this hot book of the week and help pay for some of the college education. What is it?
Hot book this week is Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 19. I think people know this. I mean, they recognize this cover. This is one of those covers that always seems to be floating around. It's Mary Jane takes center stage in this issue. There's no Spider-Man in costume at all. Written by the awesome Louise Simonson and pencils by Mary Wilshire, an all-female creative team in 1985, which was rare for Marvel. In the story, MJ stumbles into an espionage plot involving high-tech terrorists and computer secrets. Then this book also teases Mary Jane's bigger role in Peter's life, foreshadowing, their eventual marriage. It's a fun, quirky kind of book. It shows off Mary Jane as more than just a pretty face. She's creative and innovative, and it's a great book for making Mary Jane a more three-dimensional character. Speculation for this is gaining traction because of it's the first appearance of a Spider Slayer, who is thought to be the main antagonist for the next Spider-Man movie, Brave New Day.
Really?
Based on some concept art that was shown off. And it focuses on his, Spider Slayer like to give technology to underlings, and it seems to be one of those great main villain and a bunch of sub villains designed to soften up the main character. So it's a pretty feasible storyline and main villain. We'll just have to see. We just don't have enough information yet.
How come they haven't brought the tarantula on the big screen yet? Because I want to see him walk.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Is he just like lifting his knees up and I'll get you, Spider-Man? Let's go to show and tell. Let's do that. If you're new here, a lot of new people, and you wonder why I do this thing with my fingers every time we go to show and tell, the answer is I have no idea.
It's one of those things.
Yeah, we just started doing it. You're gonna
like the Blarney Stone. Who knows how it started?
Kiss it. There's a lot of inside jokes here that you'll take you a while, but you'll get it.
And you'll also notice that I didn't do it is because I'm a bonehead and was doing something else.
You'll do it next week, won't you? I got some great stuff, no theme, but just really cool things that I ran across this week, including Captain America and the Falcon number 143. This is the one giant size issue when Marvel went giant size, the whole line for 1 month to match DC, and then pivoted and went back to 20 cents, undercutting DC, who wasn't aware they were going to just do it for 1 month. And that's when Marvel took over in sales. Big shout out to Gary Sassaman and his channel, Tales from My Spinner Rack. He has a great video talking about this pivotal month in Marvel history where all the books went 25 cents giant size. Great video. Check it out if you have not already. I love this issue because it is 34 pages of John Romita inking, penciling, doing the whole art on Cap. It's beautiful. And Richard, this is a great issue where, first of all, look, Falcon's old costume, Falcon's new costume. What's going on there? You'll have to read the book to find out.
Yeah, I love the faux corner box on both sides. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And this is I think in a 6-issue space of 6 issues, they had 4 different logos for
I
Captain
was
America and the
I
Falcon.
was just going to ask you about that. How do you feel about that logo?
You can't decide. I don't mind this one. That one's pretty cool. They ended up going with the curve. You
Mhm.
know, they kept the Falcon one, but they ended up going with the curved cap logo that we all know and love. That one's not bad. It's kind of reminiscent of the 40s
Mhm.
logo, which I like. This is a story about a kind of Black Panther group that is causing all sorts of riots and things in the inner city, and then they unmask the leader of the Black Panther group. Any guesses?
That's Red Skull, is it?
Well, Richard, what's your first show and tell book?
Of course, it's the Red Skull. All right. We as I'll read later in our viewer mail, showing books off that were failed spec seems to
Mm,
be a popular thing.
they want
So
to see us
they want to,
stumble.
yes, they want to see how we suck. And everybody misreads the market, or just it's hard to read something that is as unstable as the MCU and
You tell
DC.
people you know what you're doing 100% of the time, you're lying.
You absolutely 100%. First book I got here I actually like this book. I bought it not really for spec, but it could have worked out. This is Spider-Woman Ultra, or I'm sorry, Alpha.
Mm,
There's also an Omega. You've got Silk, you've got Spider-Woman, and you've got Ghost Spider or Spider Gwen there on the cover. And this book is signed by Jason Latour, Stacey Lee, and Robbie Rodriguez back in 2016. So it's triple signed. You can see their signature down there on the cover. It's the only book that I own that has more than one signature on it. I'm not typically a big signature person, but
you
I
bought it
really
slab?
like this book. Bought it slabbed. Yeah, bought it slabbed. Didn't pay a whole lot for it, but I paid more than $100 for it. And I thought, okay, this is a really rare book. This is a variant cover. It's triple signed. If any of these characters make it to the MCU, it's gonna be a good book to have. Well, didn't work out the way that I wanted to. We still don't have Spider-Gwen did make it to the Sony verse, but not to the MCU yet. None of these characters are really popped. But you never know. This is while I'm calling this a failed spec, it's not the end of the speculation on this book. This is a book that has 3 very popular female characters in comic books.
Yeah.
Eventually, one of them, or hopefully all 3 of them, will end up on screen together.
We'll see. I have something to share. I don't have it with me, but along those lines, where right now I consider it a failed spec, but something could still happen. Going through all my books for live sales the other day or a couple weeks ago, Richard, do you know I have 3 full runs of the Department of Truth 1 through 25?
I that's 3 full runs. Wow, that's impressive. Did you read the whole thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 1 through 25, including variants. Uh,
Wow,
3
wow.
full. Yeah. So,
I have multiples of the first 4,
yeah.
5.
I don't know what I was doing. I just kept going. Go figure. Well, it wouldn't be a show and tell if I didn't mention Eric Larson once a week. It is Fantastic Comics number 24.
Wow, more muscles on muscles. That's great.
This is part of what Eric called the Next Issue Project, where in 2008, I believe, he did the next issues of a bunch of canceled Golden Age comics.
Oh, wow, what a great idea.
So this is Fantastic Comics, apparently all in public domain now.
Mhm.
And so it ended with issue 25 back in the Golden Age. So he did it, or issue 23. So he did issue 24, and all the regular characters. There's Samson and Space Smith, and Stardust is inside, and Sub Saunders, and a murderer's row of creatives on this. You've got Eric, of course, inside. You've got Bill Sienkiewicz doing a story. You've got Mike Allred doing Stardust, which is just amazing. And it is done in the full Golden Age size. It is in a Golden Age Mylar. It is 68 pages. It's hefty. Back then, I thought it was ridiculous at $5.99. What? You want to charge me $5.99 for this giant book, Eric Larson? You rip off.
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, isn't it?
What a great idea! Taking those out of print books and just continuing the story. I wonder if somebody's been waiting for 45 years to see the rest of the story.
Little my grandson John, your great grandson Johnny brought me my next issue of Fantastic Comics here in the home. It's great. And I thought this was just really cool. And I don't know if the print runs were how low the print runs were, and if anybody even really kind of got the concept back then. I just know I saw it and was like, I must buy. What do you
got? Okay, my next book also is a spider book. This one is yeah, War of the Realms, New Agents of Atlas #1. I absolutely,
everyone take a drink every time we mention War of the Realms, Agents of Atlas.
This is Sabine Rich is the artist on this cover. I love this cover. This is a Virgin variant. You can see it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. Sabine is this an amazing artist, and she does silk so well. Sorry for the glare here. I've got bags on this. But I bought a stack of these, and I did pretty good business selling them on live sales when I was doing live sales. And I still think this is a good book just because it's a beautiful, beautiful cover. Silk's story I still think isn't written yet or completely written yet, and there's opportunities for her if something ever happens in the Sonyverse to shake it up. I do still think it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but I still call it a failed spec because I thought by now New Agents of Atlas would have been something. It's just not panned out. They have just not pushed it. I think they are focused on Spider-Man because that's their moneymaker, and other characters just are not getting the same kind of attention.
Well, I think they're focused on that next Eternals movie. Hopefully, that's the same book that has like the grocery store bag variant, right? It looks like it's made brown bag.
Yes, I have that too. I almost pulled that one because that's the famous. If anyone's watched our live sales, I've been trying to hawk this book for over almost 2 years.
You were doing that. That's your giant size Master of Kung Fu #1.
Yeah.
You watch my live sales. That's the book that I have a bunch of.
It's a rare book. It just doesn't seem to interest anybody. No. It's got, for those who don't know, the cover is a brown paper that looks kind of like butcher paper. And it's interesting looking book.
They're very kind. In the 70s, comics were in trouble. Their sales were down. Superheroes were kind of losing their luster a little bit. DC was particularly in trouble, and they were trying all sorts of new things. And they had a tryout book called First Issue Special, where they would try some of these concepts out, including the Warlord. The Warlord spun off from there. So issue 4 was, an attempt. Lady Cop. Dun, 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 dun. She's a lady. She's a cop.
And she's lady cop whip her. That's interesting.
Chain. See that big old
chain? Yeah.
This was originally, believe it or not, sitting on the shelf for a few months, a few years maybe. And at the time when they created it, it was called Policewoman. So anybody who grew up in the 70s will tell you why they had to change the name by the time it got published. But look at that amazing electrifying logo.
That is definitely, looks like a copy paste job.
Is she? Oh, don't tell me she's wearing heels. Well, it's a little kitten heel, but it's a heel. Yeah, I don't think female police
officers should be wearing heels. Yeah, that's probably not good for pursuit.
No, and I don't see I see a Billy Club. I don't see a gun. I think if she carried her service revolver, she wouldn't be having this issue right now. We can pick it apart all we want, but here it is. It is, I would say, a 9698 copy.
Ooh, wow. How long did that series run?
Oh, just this is the one shot, and that was it. This is it.
Yeah. Wow.
A lot of the first issue specials did not run more than one issue. Atlas, Dingbats of Danger Street, that version of Starman. It was just all one and done. Although there were 3 issues of Dingbats actually drawn. They just published one.
Oh.
Dumb trivia, Richard. What is your final show and tell book?
Last book, I had to have a Star Wars book. Star Wars Heir to the Empire #4.
It's been a while.
Yeah. This is the first cover appearance of Luke Skywalker's wife. You see here her on the cover with R2-D2. And I thought, you know, Heir to the Empire is the series that Emperor Thrawn came out of. His first appearances in it in issue #1. And Thrawn was the main villain in the Ahsoka Tano series. And I bought this way before Ahsoka Tano came out because I thought, you know, you got Luke Skywalker's wife. If Luke comes, you know, shows up in Star Wars again, there's a strong potential that, you know, storyline would include his wife. So I was buying a number of these for a reasonable amount of money. I never was really expensive. I have, like I said, I have a number of them. This is a 9.4 that's here, that's graded. Nothing ever came of it. We did see Luke. He showed up briefly in a couple episodes of Ahsoka Tano, and then pretty much that was it. And I was, you know, just disappointed because just Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is, I think, one of the stronger characters in that franchise, and to have him show up briefly and disappear, and now of course he's no longer with us, so it makes it more complicated. So this spec, I think, is pretty much dead unless they have some alternate universe or some, you know, telling tales from the past. I think this spec is pretty much gone.
You have a theme. Why is it a 9.4? Do you know?
I do not. I don't remember looking up the grade, mainly because 9.4s you get either nothing, or, you know, it's never really that helpful.
Somebody had a bad morning.
Maybe, yeah. 9.4 is the worst grade. 9.6, okay. 9.4 is kind of
limbo, right?
Right.
Hey, if you like show and tell and you like us doing stuff like this, you might want to think about becoming a member here on YouTube. For $2.99 a month, you can get exclusive live member-only streams on Thursdays where we have 90 minutes of this. Plus, as a member, you get to join us and show off your books as well and get bragging rights and hear Richard and I go, ooh and ah, when you show your stuff off. We had someone show off More Fun Comics number 52.
Yeah.
Inspector last week. It was a reprint, but still he showed it off.
Didn't have to share that part.
Yeah, I know, but I can't mislead non-members. Be a member. Just hit join next to the subscribe button here on YouTube. We'd love to have you. We have a lot of people. We have a lot of fun. We have live chat, and we will see you there. In the meantime, for free, you can always send us a piece of viewer mail.
You've got mail.
Richard, I will start off. From our friend Steven, aka Minor Keys Comics on Instagram. What's up, Steven? Hello, you beautiful bastards. I recently saw an advertisement for a 2024 reprint of the 1982 DC Style Guide featuring art by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. There it is. I am not familiar with the significance and impact of the original guide for both DC and collectors, so instead of just looking it up, I figured I'd listen to John talk about it on an episode. Thanks, fellas. Steven. Here's another shot of inside. So basically, Steven, this was created for licensees. So let's say you wanted to get the rights to do Shazam pajamas or towels. You can't just make up your own art. You have to use what's provided in the DC Style Guide. So if you look here, they have, here's the front view, the side view, the rear view of the characters. It was a way to standardize everything, because a Neil Adams Shazam is going to look a lot different than a Jack Kirby Shazam. or a
Mhm.
C. Beck Shazam. So Jose was like the house style. This is how all the licensing stuff should work. So Wonder Woman, you see all the licensed Wonder Woman stuff she's wearing. It's that beautiful Jose Luis Garcia Lopez art. So that's what this was for. And what's significant about it is it only went to licensees. It was never available to the general collecting public. So kind of became this legendary thing to have, if you got one of these back in the day. And now that they've reprinted it, has it lost a little bit of its luster?
Interesting. I've heard of him before. I've never seen one before. It'd be interesting to have that in your collection, wouldn't it? Just to have that standardized art and know when you're looking at Shazam on your underoos, it's that Shazam.
uh, I used to stare at my Shazam underoos for hours. What's your first piece of viewer mail?
My first piece of viewer mail is from our email at bronzeandmoderngods.com. And it's from JJ. And JJ says, "Hello, everyone. Thank you for your wonderful podcast, which is one of the few podcasts that makes us viewers feel welcome without prejudice." Well, thank you. We try. We try to be a welcoming presence. To start, you showed a comic with an attached jewel on the cover.
That
I purchased.
Eclipso one shot from the
Pardon?
90s. That Eclipso one shot
Oh,
from the
right.
90s you're talking about.
I purchased this 1 to 25 ratio cover from Chaos Comics back in the day, and I never knew how to store it. For cheesecake lovers, here is my show and tell. And he includes this picture of Chastity. Nice cover, very nice cover.
See all those little purple pieces of plastic stuck to her
Yeah,
bodice. Ugh.
yeah.
Imagine putting it in a long box.
I'll let you pontificate on storing those puppies. I
Nope,
mean,
go on.
I enjoy your convention videos, and I used to love going to the cons and LCS, but I've grown an intense anxiety. I have been collecting comics since the age of 12, but lately I feel anxiety having to double to triple check prices and question the comic book integrity, whether something is complete and so on. I went to SDCC in 1994 and walked up to a dealer, looked at Teen Titans #1 from back in 1966, did not think much about it. It was complete and in fine shape without rips and tears. But now I feel I may get swindled. My anxiety got the better of me, and relying on online buying, I bought Action Comics number 252 for Supergirl online, advertised as a certain grade because I cannot get my mind prepared for going to another con or LCS. Good news, I had CGC grade the book, and it was higher grade than what was advertised. Happy. Since you all know, since you are well known in the community, uh, yeah, there's that famous quote from "To Be or Not to Be," world famous in Poland. Um, what would you say to a new and old, say to new and old collectors about managing the anxiety of dealing with dealers? Is it always cash that speaks volumes? I do love going to an LCS, but I cannot seem to open my wallet up. Thank you for allowing me to feel my best collector self, JJ.
Hmm.
Well, thank you, JJ. Thanks for writing us and sharing, your troubles and tribulations with the hobby. It is kind of intimidating, but there's different ways to approach going to cons and buying books. Um, if you love the book, which I always recommend, that's the first way that you're going to go and look at books. Buy the book because you want the book, not because of its intrinsic value. Now, I'm not saying ignore the value, but your first focus should be, is this a book I want in my collection? Is this some book that's significant to me as a collector? Mainly because you may never get around to selling that book. The price of the book may go up or it may go down, as we've seen my failed spec books. Don't worry about the value of the book overly much. If it's not a book you want to have in your collection, then the simple answer to me is don't add it to your collection. So anxiety can definitely be a problem, especially if you want to approach a dealer, and you're looking at negotiating. I find if you don't like the back and forth, carry cash, hold up the cash and give him a price that you feel is a good price, a reasonable price, always off of what he's asking. If he accepts it, then give him the cash. If not, somebody else has got that book. Somebody else at that show will more than likely have that book. Keep looking and find someone who's going to buy it. That way you avoid all of the consternation around negotiation. Am I getting a good price or not? And give them a price that you feel comfortable with. And a lot of times dealers will be flexible, especially cash, because cash is something that is definitely will help them make a decision in your favor. John, how do you feel?
The only thing I would add to that is if you feel intimidated negotiating with a dealer, imagine them in his Shazam underoos, number one. Also, I say this all the time. A no is free. So he's got the book for $100. You say, will you take 75 for it? And he goes, no. What have you lost? You've lost nothing. You still are at the same price he had it stickered at. Maybe you say, oh, okay, well, 100's still a bit rich for me. Can we meet in the middle, like say 85? 9 times out of 10, you will score the deal right then and there. Especially if you're paying for cash. They do not want to deal with Venmo fees, PayPal fees, credit card fees. So as much as I ragged on Richard for carrying thousands of dollars in cash with him at one show,
yeah,
he won't do that again, by the way.
I will not.
So yes, if you're thinking of robbing Richard next time you see him at the show, you're wasting your time. But yeah, cash, have a couple $100 for those swing books. We were just at a convention together, and Richard and I were getting deals. You could argue we're well known. I would argue no, we're not. I think 99% of the dealers we deal with have no idea we have a podcast. The only time we get asked if we have a podcast is when we're carrying that camera around and people go, oh, what are you doing? So we don't get any kind of special deals or anything like that. Believe me. Believe me. I wish it worked that way. But JJ, the worst thing you could tell someone with anxiety is, hey, just get over it. I know that's the worst thing you can tell someone. Just take a breath and go through the possible most negative outcome before you go there. The most negative outcome is that you don't buy a book.
Right.
Remember,
it's your money. You are the driving force, not the dealers, because you don't have to have those books. They are not a form of sustenance. So if you find that there isn't an opportunity to buy something, you can leave without having to interact or deal with anybody.
And sorry, Richard, go ahead.
No, and as John says, anxiety is a real thing that I understand. My daughter suffers from it. It is definitely something that is manageable, but it is something that you'll have to deal with for the rest of your life. I recommend just taking that attitude of it's not a purchase I have to make, and if I don't walk away with a particular book, there'll be another show.
As I learned in San Diego this year, there's more to conventions than just buying comics. Go to panels. I mean, don't think you have to go to conventions just to buy books and get the best deals. It's a community. People want to see you. Trust me.
Cosplayers.
Yeah. There's lots to do at conventions. You go for the community and the aspect and make some friends and hang out. I had the best San Diego this year that I've had in years because I took that attitude. All right.
Oh, one thing before we move on, do you want to talk about bagging and boarding and storing those books with those lovely books from the 90s with jewels and?
Yeah, don't do it. No, seriously, it's so stupid. But the best way is to put a board in front of the book.
Yeah.
Back behind the book, in front of the book. Otherwise it's gonna leave an impression, literally, in your long boxes. Don't do it. From Comics Watching, talking about the Project Pegasus story that we discussed in Marvel 2-in-1 last week. The Project Pegasus story and the Serpent Crown Affair. That whole run and a little before and after is one of my all-time favorite stories. I loved that run of Marvel 2-in-1. I'm telling you, as a kid, that was my jam. First week of the month. Wondar, the way things that take place in the story lead into the end of Squadron Supreme story decades later. Man, I love all that Mark Gruenwald stuff so much. He was a master at not letting a plot thread hang. Even if it took 20 years to get back to it, he would get back to it. Even if you left a plot thread hanging on your series that got canceled in 1974, Mark Gruenwald would find a way to wrap it up in an issue of Cap somewhere or in an annual. I That's what I miss about Marvel, was these little things that would get resolved, and now it's just event. Richard, what's your next piece of viewer mail?
My next piece of viewer mail is from our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com. Again, this is from Mike, Yellow Beanie Comics on Instagram.
And a member. Hi, Mike.
And a member. Yes. Hi, Mike. Hey, John and Richard. I enjoyed the recent failed spec segment as it hits home for most of us, I'm sure, that have been active in the past 4 years. Please do more of them. There you go. My struggle now is what to do with these books. Every time I pull out some to prepare for a show, I get the urge to hold on for hope, when I really should just take the L and get what I can get from these to use for better choices in the future. What are your thoughts, or what do you end up doing with these? They could easily sit in boxes for years, but why? I personally have moved as far away from spec buying as it just isn't a part of the hobby that is healthy, and I really prefer to buy things I like or evergreen keys just in case they never sell. Thanks. Thank you, as always, for the great content. Thanks, Mike. What to do with them? Personally, I think let them go. You got to let them go. Sell them for what you can get for them, unless you have a strong feeling that there is a potential for spec. I also don't buy spec books anymore. I shouldn't say never, but I rarely do. I happen to have one right here in front of me as I'm saying that. And it's because, yeah, it's not a healthy part of the hobby, either for the buyer or the seller. It's trying to min-max the hobby. It's trying to turn the hobby into commodities. And it's while it can help fund your collecting for other things, if you take it too far, like anything, it can definitely be detrimental. I have, for example, a huge collection of books that I bought not because I liked them, but because they had strong spec. I'm thinking of like Venom number 25, which had strong spec, or Thor number 6. Yep, strong spec. So I bought those books, and they languish in my collection. Personally, I wish I had just sold them out as opposed to hoarding them. And when I do on the live sale again, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get rid of them, mainly because they take up space. And I have a limited amount of space in my house, as dictated by my wife.
Yep.
So yeah, it's good to blow them out and then just start over. Just focus on the books that you like. Use that money to buy books that you like, and just move on.
Mike, congratulations for moving on to the next phase. And by that, I mean, a lot of people came in COVID times, bought all these spec books. They see them being almost worthless now, and they quit. I'm out of the hobby. This is a ripoff, and I understand that as well. But you're smart, and you went, oh, wait, I've learned this is where I should be investing in the silver keys, and even some bronze keys, and some golden age, if you get that far and have that much money. As far as the desire to hold on, I know what you mean. I think it comes down to space, like Richard said. Now, I was single. I had lots of space. I had a 2-bedroom apartment. I could save everything. Used to be able to save everything. And I did. And I had books from the early 2000s and 2010s that I carried with me everywhere. And then we moved to this house, and I ran out of space. So I had to get rid of them. Do you know what was in those books that I thought were worthless, Richard?
What?
Ultimate Fallout 4. There were some, for every long box, there were like 3 or 4 decent keys that I was, I guess, smart enough to hold on to when they were worth something. The rest of it was completely worthless. Those days are done. Now, if I buy something and after a year or 2 or so, it doesn't pop, it's out of here. I don't care. I mentally said I'm letting it go. If it becomes a movie spec and it becomes $1,000 book, oh, well, I had it. The space is more important to me now. How do you get rid of them? Do you have a half price books nearby? Do you have a book off nearby? Book off is here in Southern California. I think they are nationwide. They will take a short box of comics of anything and give you $50. It's cash in your pocket. It's better
Yeah.
than it's sitting here. You think, well, but there's 150 books and I paid, $400 cover price for those books. Oh, well, you enjoyed them. They sat in your house for years and now you got $50 back. What other thing can you buy that gives you money back when you want to get rid of it?
Yeah.
Cars, I guess. But you got to let it go. There's no reason to hold on to it anymore. Like 3 runs of Department of Truth. Really, John? Well, no. My next piece of viewer mail comes from another great YouTube channel, Rafe. I'm sorry, I keep massacring your name every time. Rafe's Retro Comics. I recently revisited the later issues of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing and had forgotten how much of a shift they were from the earlier issues. Yeah, we talked about that last week. I think the abrupt change to science fiction mode after issue 53 originally made me less interested in the title, but rereading them has been quite eye-opening. It really felt like Alan Moore started to experiment more, almost to the point to see what he could get away with. The journey through space was quite something, and his return was very satisfying. Rafe, I remember all that. There are only so many stories, and I'm sure Alan Moore came across this as he was on his 3rd or 4th year on this book. How many stories can you have in the Houma swamps of Louisiana before you run out of friggin' things to say about being in the swamp? You got to go somewhere and do something. And the most radical thing to do is to take him out of the swamp into outer space. And he's bored, right?
Yeah, you're right. There's only so many stories you can tell about the swamp,
Yeah.
and about his relationship. It's you have to have a change of scenery, a change of conflict, and the space stories were good for that. It definitely definitely was a change from the swamp.
It was also interesting to see his take on Adam Strange and Zenla. I have no spoilers if you haven't read it yet. Who knew that was going to be about fertility? And it kind of led into Rick Veitch's run where the Swamp Thing was traveling through time, and that legendary censored issue where he was going to be on the cross that just never happened. And if it wasn't for Alan Moore's willingness to experiment and get out of the Swamp Thing would have ended with issue 50. Right?
100%. Yeah, without Alan Moore's influence, I don't think Swamp Thing would be the figure that he is in the DC universe. It's just is no way.
I think it goes to show, with the exceptions of Len Wein, who created the character, and most of Rick Veitch's run, who's done a great Swamp Thing since that, you can point to and go, that's a great run. Mark Millar wrote it, but we don't look at it as like, a landmark run on Swamp Thing. It's tough. It's a tough character to write. It has limitations.
He had cameos every now and then. I remember him showing up in Constantine, for example.
Yeah.
But not a significant run.
Speaking of fertility, Constantine, the sperm donor for Swamp Thing. Richard, what is your final piece of your mail? He was.
Yeah. I love Constantine. I really enjoy that story.
You didn't know. Is that assault? Oh, just read your last viewer mail.
Last piece of viewer mail is from Wombat Comics on IG. And Wombat says, good to see Knights of the Dinner Table mentioned. I talked about that last show. I have not so much collected the series as read them, with no regard for keeping them near mint like every other issue in my collection, and kept them. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'll talk about it. One of the few books that I don't miss an issue. A couple of years ago, I visited a good buddy of mine who gave me his entire collection. Wow, mostly indies. And in it was one issue of Knights of the Dinner Table, which, against all odds, was issue number 1.
Wow.
So I am at least a collector of that issue, as it means a lot to me. I met him in college years ago and got reacquainted with him, where he was our DM for a while. He passed last week, so I'm bummed out. On a brighter note, answering your questions from response to my complaint about CGC, as far as I know, I am no relation to the Detroit Tigers first baseman, nor the running back that used to play for Green Bay, or any other character in the old show, the Torkelsons.
Okay.
Okay, okay, Wombat. Oh, or a computer game. A really early computer game was called Wombat. Yeah, Dice at the Dinner Table. I did not collect. I read. It was one of those books that I would go to the comic book store. I would get a bunch of comics, and then I'd go to lunch, and I'd pull out Knights of the Dinner Table and read Knights of the Dinner Table as I'm eating my lunch. So it got grease or whatever happened. It was not a book that I collected for the per se. I had a stack of them, but they weren't in pristine condition, just like Wombats. And now that I go back, I kind of wish I had kept them in better condition, but they're really durable books. I mean, these books were not cheap and flimsy indie books for the most part. So you can buy them now as collections and digital collections from Kenzer-Co, which is the publisher. So if you do want to go back and read them, probably a digital version would be better than having a massive stack of these books, because they are rather large. But yeah, I'm so glad you got a number one. I have, again, not seen one in person. And your story is very poignant in your relationship with the previous owner and his collection. I hope you take good care of that book over the years.
Yeah, that's a sweet email. Appreciate that. When I worked at Wendy's in high school, I wouldn't bring comic books to read during my lunch break, because I didn't want to get grease on them. Because you're working at Wendy's, you're eating Wendy's food.
Right.
I would bring either Comic Scene or Comic Reader to read. And one time, the manager at the time saw me reading during my lunch break, and he comes out and he goes, "Why are you reading during your lunch break?" Like, because I don't want to sit here and stare out the window. Well, you shouldn't be reading during your lunch break. I remember that. It's like, what am I supposed to be? Am I supposed to wolf the food down and come back before my half hour is up? Excuse me. The power trips people used to have on 16-year-olds back in the day. It's crazy.
Back in the day, it's still going on today.
Is it? Oh man. Speaking of back in the day, let's hit in that TARDIS and go back to the year 2000. It is the 25-year rule. Richard, I can't believe you were out of comics at this point, because The Authority was one of my favorite books.
Really?
You would have never imagined I would be reading a Wildstorm publication. What? Gross. But when Wildcats got canceled, they reconfigured into The Authority. In the first year, it was an amazing book. Warren Ellis, Bryan Hitch, groundbreaking run. Created widescreen comics, basically. And then came The Authority number 13 in 2000. A new era with the aforementioned Mark Millar and artist Frank Quitely. He's like escargot. You either love him or you don't. What's your Frank Quitely stance? Quitely.
Not a huge fan, I have to say. I'm just not a huge fan.
I love him. Millar and Quitely pushed the book into a more provocative, politically charged territory, amplifying both the violence and the satire of global politics. And of course, Frank's distinct kinetic style brought a grittier, more detailed look compared to Hitch's widescreen cinematic art. And the run began to challenge censorship and the boundaries of superhero comics, leading to friction with DC, and eventually some censored panels and issues and redrawn. Is when Art Adams ended up being on the book as an artist. That last run that just got obliterated from DC editorial. Their run cemented The Authority as one of the most influential superhero books of the early 2000s. It really paved the way for a lot of deconstructionist superhero storytelling. I don't understand why this run of The Authority isn't like The Watchmen, just continually collected and in print and
That good.
Oh, it's so good, Richard. It's different. I can't really chat comments. Help me out here. Describe this book, especially post 9/11. It really, that's what affected this book is, you couldn't do double page spreads of the World Trade Center being destroyed anymore because that's what was happening in this book. So that really affected the ongoing title. The good news is if you haven't experienced the Authority, this is the first issue of the Millar run, and it goes for $5 to $7 on eBay. They're super cheap. I think there was talk about the Authority being in a movie a couple years ago, and that drove the first issue up a bit, but I'm sure that's died down. Have you guys read the Authority? Do you remember it? Can you believe it's been 25 friggin' years since the Authority came out? Let us know in the comments. As we move on to our underrated books of the week. Now, Richard was still around in 1991 buying comics.
Yeah, barely.
What's your book?
My book this week is Dark Horse Presents the 5th Anniversary Special back in 91. This is the first episode of the comic that was featured or published as Sin City. It's in a part of the anthology book, Dark Horse Presents. It started off in this book, and then it moved to Dark Horse Presents issue 51 through 62 for the rest of the Sin City run. So this is a story by Frank Miller. For those of you who are familiar with the Sin City movie, it's the story around Marv, the lantern-jawed brute that is trying to avenge the death of his prostitute lover. And it is quite gritty. The movie is quite gritty. The book is even more so. This is Frank Miller at his zenith, in my opinion. His artwork is so unique and so stylistic, all black and white, and it really draws the eye, and it gives you the impression of movement. It's just amazing. Marv is the main character. He's brutal yet oddly sympathetic. If you've seen the movie, you know he's doing things for what he feels is the right reasons, but he's doing some rather brutal things to get those accomplished. This is published under Dark Horse's Legend imprint, alongside things like Hellboy and Concrete, two of my other favorite books. And a lot of indie credibility in this. And it's a major influence in the resurgence of other books like 100 Bullets, which is another popular title. So if you enjoyed the movie, you will enjoy the comic book of it. And I think the other way around too. The stylistic version of art that Frank Miller features in the comic book, they did a really good job of bringing that to the table for the movie. Movie is all in black and white with splashes of color, the splashes of red that really just call out, splashes of yellow, things like that, that highlight certain things. And I think the movie was amazing. It's one of my favorite. The first movie is one of my favorite comic book related movies out there. This is, I think, underrated as a collectible. Because of the movie tie-in, I'm just surprised it hasn't had more influence or more presence in the market. There are collections of the stories from Dark Horse Presents annual as well as the run. You can find hardcover prints online for like $99, but there's also trade paperbacks of the run you can pick up for as little as $20 up on eBay. Recommend it wholeheartedly if you like Frank Miller. I love the Dark Knight books. Loved his Daredevil. Hit or miss on some of his other work because it does kind of go over the top. But I think this again is his sweet spot. If you like those books, I think you're going to like this as well.
Okay, Sin City, first Sin City, whatever. This is the Dark Horse Presents 5th Anniversary Special. So look at this lineup of characters that were famous from being in Dark Horse Presents. You've got Concrete, a new Concrete story.
Yeah.
You've got Aliens versus Predator. You've got The American, which I think is a very underrated series. You've got Black Cross, who was on the cover of the very first issue of Dark Horse Presents back in the day. Most importantly, you got Martha Washington from Give Me Liberty right there, front and center. But look, underneath Martha there on the cover, it's Roachmill.
You're going to skip by Aliens versus Predator?
I said Aliens versus
Aliens, but not Aliens versus Predator.
Okay. I get excited about Roachmill. This is, by the way, not sarcasm, anyone that's new to the show. I love me some Roachmill. I can't believe nothing's ever been done with that. So well done, so funny, so good. Oh yeah, and Sin City's in it too, Richard. My underrated book this week is going back to 1966. We don't talk about Charltons enough. It is Captain Atom number 82, the debut of Eve Arden, you know her better, as Nightshade, who would later become an important supporting character in DC Comics after they acquired the Charlton Heroes. She is one of the earlier superheroines introduced at Charlton, giving the company a stronger roster in an era where female leads were a little rarer outside of DC and Marvel. I mean, Wonder Woman was pretty much it. Marvel didn't have any ongoing superhero heroines in their own book, right?
Right. Not that I can think of.
Nightshade went on to join the Suicide Squad. She was in Shadow Pact, and she's a consistent figure in DC's supernatural and espionage corners of their universe. And despite being a Silver Age first appearance from 1966, this book remains relatively undervalued compared to other Charlton and DC keys, making it a great sleeper pick for all you guys. Raw, ungraded copies, low grade, are about $15 to $35. Maybe better mid-grade copies around $35 to $60. If you get into the fine or more area, which is like near mint for Charlton's, you're looking around $70 to $100 depending on conditions. But I love. Oh, what? Hey, look at that. Excuse me. Mine is decent. I would say it's a 7.0, 7.5.
Wow. Excellent.
Yeah. How do you catch a ghost? And I like this at the bottom. Oh, introducing the darling of darkness, Nightshade.
Darling of darkness. Okay.
Here she is. Steve did go all the way, you can tell. But just a really great, underrated book. I love this entire run from Ditko. And that is another show, another week. Richard, we're going to see everybody on Thursday, correct?
Yep.
All right. If you're a member, we'll see you then. Otherwise, we will catch you next Monday.
Yep, everybody. Stay safe.